We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
As you can tell, last year it was an off year, but we reloaded and now it is our boss year. Seated back there and yeah, we got the badger. Don't forget Marshawn and don't forget the pass rush. Jameis QB1 dropping down to MT, or handed off the Alvin with the quick feet. So when you see the Saints marching, yeah, we gon' trouble you at the Super Bowl party, eating on them double. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of the NewOrleans.Football podcast, coming to you live from the Bado Law Podcast Studio, presented by Dat Wrap Company. We got a big show here today. Last week at training camp was probably one of the best weeks that the Saints have had. Went out to Green Bay, practiced against them, played the game, had another week of a few days of training camp this week. There is a lot going on with the Saints, a lot of good stuff happening. Jameis Winston's on the mend, looks healthy, so that's a huge thing for the team. Don't think Mike Thomas's injury is too serious, so another good thing there. So it still feels like a lot of stuff are trending in the right direction for this team, and they got one more preseason game, and the season's just about here. Next Tuesday night, we'll be talking about the Falcons for the first week for 2 weeks in a row, because for some reason the NFL thinks there needs to be 2 weeks of lead up. But hey man, I'm excited to be rounding towards the season. What's going on with you, Gav?
Man, it seems like the season is like crept up on us. Like for a while we was looking up the training camp, and now we're actually talking about, all right, we got one more game coming up this week, and after that we're getting into the actual season itself. So it's exciting, man. It's exciting. It's my favorite time of the year. So it's upon us, man. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and look, I'm ready to go too. But if you need to get your car wrapped or anything else wrapped, Dat Wrap Company can grow your business with the most cost-effective form of advertising. They specialize in graphic design, custom and commercial vehicle wraps, wall murals, and storefront signage. Whether you're wanting to get your car a fresh new look or you want to transition the face of your business, DWC can help get you noticed. Call today, 985-237-4781. That is Dat Wrap Company. They are our new presenting sponsor. Excited to have them aboard. They do really cool stuff. I've been looking at their website, and I'm thinking about taking my car out there to get it, a little matte black, be out here driving like it's a Batmobile, looking right. So make sure you hit them up, support a local company, get your car looking right, and, get that fresh look for the season. And if you need legal help with any of the following, and look, if you get your car, I'm not going to go there. If you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, Maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims, you better call Bado at 504-323-4777 or 985-677-1085 for your free consultation and case review. BadoLaw.com. And look, if Tommy's coming for you, maybe get your car wrapped and they won't be able to find you. Check out our guys up on Firehouse Subs, Veterans Boulevard. Best subs in the city, best people in the city. We love them. So go support them, eat a sub, and get right. So what do you want to talk about? Where do you want to start?
Well, first thing I say, next time I'm gonna give you a better segue into the it's
gonna seem it's gonna be more seamless next time. It's gonna be more seamless.
That was my fault. I just threw you a bad pass, right? And
look, the behind the scenes leading up to this, getting the new equipment working was chaotic. So we're just happy to be here on time today.
Yeah, man, it feels good. There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of stuff happening on just what we're doing behind the scenes, and I
we
think
got
it's
our
a lot
training
of
camp going on. We got our training camp going on with getting everything right, but we're about to level up and things are about
yeah.
to be crazy over here. So
Yeah, we're gonna be ready for the season. Ain't nobody gonna be injured. We're gonna have the whole squad. We already got the 53. We good to go. So all right, yeah, let's get into it. So the biggest thing, obviously, with the whole team right now is that Jameis Winston is back. He kind of started to participate in practice a little bit early the day before, and then step up his participation the next day. So how's he looking? Is there a reason for concern? Is there rust, et cetera? Just talk about him coming back.
yeah, so he came back, started practicing in Green Bay actually, and then this week he's been ramping it up, doing team drills, and then today he practiced completely full. And I thought yesterday, being Monday, I thought that was probably his worst practice of training camp. Things just weren't on point. The timing was off. And I don't know if that was all Jameis, actually. I think that in general, there was some sluggishness there. And I think it was just a tough week for them. They come back, they play the game in Green Bay, they travel back. Sunday, they have the in the dome practice. And then I just think Monday was just kind of like a low energy, sluggish day. And today they came back, though. Everything's on point. I thought it was probably one of the more competitive practices of training camp. And I thought Jameis had a really good day. I won't go as far as to say it was his best day of training camp, but I do think his hurry up series in this practice was the best series of plays that we've seen in this training camp. And it was just a really good series. He had an out route to Olave. That was a really nice pass, far sideline rather. So it seemed that Jameis dart go across the field was crazy. Delivered the pass on point, was a really good pass. And then they keep driving down the field. He hits the touchdown pass to Landry. Landry tips it with one hand, catches it, and completes the play. But the thing that I thought was the most encouraging about Jameis's day is not necessarily that he got back in rhythm and on the same page with the receivers, because that was going to happen. Like one day is one day, and that stuff's going to work itself out. The best thing was he had 2 runs today that where he took off and ran up the field looking like running Jameis. Last year how he looked running the ball, and I think that's a huge aspect of his game that I think we all really kind of overlook. And if he's doing that, that means the foot's good, but more importantly, the knee is looking good. So everything in his lower half is seems to be on point. Any concerns, week 1 or anything like that, I think are completely alleviated. He looks good, he looks ready, and today was a really, really good practice for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Saints, you got to be encouraged just by where he is right now, considering you started the offseason with him with a torn ACL, then you kind of ended up dealing with another more minor injury, but still an injury, and for him to be a week basically before the last preseason game, and plenty of time between this day when he kind of came back full and the start of the season, you feel like you got a lot of time to get things up to speed. So yeah, that's definitely a big deal. Is at the end of the day, it's the most important thing on this team in general, right? I mean, a lot of stuff could be going well, but if that position they don't have him there playing well, then it's going to be problematic for him. So one thing about him coming back and him missing some time, you kind of alluded to it, was that maybe some of the timing and some of the things were off between him and his receivers during that first practice. So if you just kind of take a step back, and I know DA spoke a little bit about it recently, where he said, hey, it's just that time of the year where some guys are injured, you're deep in the training camp practice. And so, Jameis had a little bit of time with Mike, then Mike came back, but then Jameis got hurt. So do you think there's just anything to be concerned about as it pertains to offensive continuity, since, they have guys coming in and out of the lineup? I think Ruiz is hurt now. Big Fish, Troutman is hurt. So yeah, just your thoughts about if that's going to have any effect on the offense.
I'm going to say no, but I mean, I do have some concerns about the offensive line in particular. I think that the attrition there is starting to get a little bit worrisome. And I don't know that any of this stuff is a huge deal, but they were down to Pete left for a little bit today, and then he came back. So at one point today, they were down to 8 offensive linemen in training camp. I mean, that's just not a feasible number at this point. Yeah. And they just need to get these guys on the field and get them healthy. The Ramczyk situation, I think this is going to be how he practices for the rest of his career. I think this is just the reality of the situation now, is that you manage him and just keep him healthy for the games let him get just enough work to feel ready and able and good to go with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think left tackle is a big deal. I think that's the one spot that I'm looking at now. I know Hurst has a what I've been told it was a toe injury. I know he's in a walking boot. So, it's a situation where I don't know if it's like a long-term thing, but I think, until I hear something else, and I don't know if this is a valid concern. So I'm not saying that I'm worried, like in a reporting sense on week one, just like him not being out there and knowing that there's, the toe, it's in a boot. I'm a little bit worried about week one. And, I think that puts a bit of a bullseye on Penning as far as, his development and how quickly he can get ready to play and all that stuff. So that's a major issue for me that I'm looking at right now. And look, I do think that he's cleaning stuff up like really quickly. Like what he did, even, people not seeing the practices, you look at preseason game 1, preseason game 2, it's not perfect by any means, but it's better as far as the pass blocking goes. So that was a good come up for him. There was a rep today that I thought was pretty promising for him. They were doing one-on-ones and like Peyton Turner hit him with like the speed rush to the outside and then tried to spin back across him to the inside, which is exactly how he got beat badly.
Texans,
right? It was like, hot sauce crossing him up in the AN1 games and like the dude's just kind of like frozen there. So that was a really good play for him. And I thought that was a sign of growth there. He looked pretty good in team today. He gave up a sack. Next play, he kind of got beat a little bit. Pete came over to help him. They knocked down the rush over there. Peyton Turner again. Turner got him on the sack on the play before. So it's not perfect, but things are progressing. They're looking better. You do see the growth. And look, I know the coaching staff believes that like the stuff that's kind of plaguing him in pass pro is something that could come just bam, that quick and they're good to go. But it might not come that quick either. So they don't feel that he's super far off. It's just kind of putting everything together.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean that was kind of the next thing I was going to ask you about, just his development and how it's coming on and his transition from game 1 to game 2 in the preseason. So I think that when you have a young tackle, right? It's cliche, but they gotta have these bad snaps, right? I think it's part of becoming a good NFL tackle, right? I mean, wasn't Armstead his first game, right? He had to kind of grow. I forget the first team that he played. It must have been Carolina or something, but he had a pretty bad game. And so, I just think it's part of an offensive tackle's growth to, kind of have these bad snaps and see what's wrong on film, be able to fix it and go out there and take it into the game. So I don't think it was ever I know a lot was made of it. I don't think it was ever a big concern, right? Because I just think that's just part of the process. And, but yeah, it's just good to hear him doing well. I will say that I know we talk a lot about his pass pro because I think that's the thing that stands out and people see it, right? When you see a bad play or someone gives up pressure, you look for who fault it was. But typically, like when there's like a good run play, that's always the case. But I think his run blocking is like NFL ready, like day one. It's just fun.
Yeah, that's not even a question. Like he's doing stuff that's rare. Some of these like backside blocks and stuff like that he's just doing on his own, handling no help, just making it look easy. That stuff is rare. Like he's doing some things that a lot of guys can't do, and that needs to be recognized. So they're going to be awesome running to the left side of the field if he has to play with him. And just be out in space leading the way. Screens going that side are going to be crazy. It's just the pass protection's a little bit shaky, and the guy to his right is a little bit shaky at times too. So it is a concern. But I don't know. I mean, he's got enough runway here, I think, to clean up enough of it to feasibly be successful. It's just I don't know if he can get there quick enough, and that's now a much bigger deal. And frankly, it kind of it stinks for him because like that isn't the scenario he's supposed to be in. He's supposed to be in one where he's not pressed to
progressively.
or anything. But this shouldn't be a situation where like people are reaching judgments after 3-4 games either. So if he starts out rough, I mean, I don't think that's indicative of what his career is going to be. You got to give people time. So
I mean,
but he's gonna fall victim to those snap judgments, sort of the way he did in that first preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not ideal, definitely. But in the event that he did have to start, I feel like, I mean, one thing, and I'm not trying to say this to be funny, but they play Atlanta the first week. So, it's not like Von Miller is on the other side right now. They can scheme up pressures and, Dean Pease is the coordinator, but if they had to start him, I don't think it'd be ideal. I think if he starts, I think you prefer it be because he beat out James Hurst and not because, Hurst is injured. But yeah, it is something to keep an eye on. And, we'll see what comes from there. Mike and his injury, just any updates there?
Yeah, I don't think he's walking with a significant limp or anything. So I mean that's good news. We'll see how it goes moving forward. Hamstrings can be tricky, but look, the thing I'll say about DA is I don't think he lies. I've never known him to lie. I've known him to not answer something if he doesn't want to answer it.
Yeah.
But I've never known him to flat out lie in the way. In granted, he didn't like put a diagnosis on anything or offer a timeline, but he made it sound not crazy. So I take his word for it. I've heard from sources that it's again that it looks like he's moving well, that it doesn't seem like a big deal. But again, it can be tricky. My thing with Mike, and this is probably a little bit of an unfair talking point, but I think it's a realistic thing to kind of to say is that I wonder, the timing of this isn't great for him. Like he's been injured forever. He's fought to come back from it. Like the last thing you want is for him to have a reason to like feel like his body's not working the way it's supposed to be working. So, but it seems like he's in a great headspace. I don't think that he's like super struggling with any of the stuff that went on or anything like that. So I think he's going to be fine with it. I would just say like that's the one element of this. Like if you're really looking for like a subplot to kind of talk about, I mean, that would be the one thing, but I don't think that's a valid, real concern. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll be okay. It's just, you want him getting those reps. You want him being used to playing. You want him to continue.
With Jameis. Yeah. Both of them on the field.
And then just the competitive situations. Like that was the thing in Green Bay. Like he got targeted 9 times in that first practice. Like that's a guy that's getting open. That's the important thing here. He's like getting open, but some of these passes aren't completed. Some of them were competitive situations where maybe he could have fought for the ball a little bit more. And I think it's just all things he has to get used to doing again. And you're taking away opportunities to specifically work on some of the things that he just found out he needs to work on a little bit more. So that's the thing that I think hurts about it. And I think he is somebody that needs the time and to be out there working. So it the progress was all like forward building and now it kind of steps back a little bit. I think ultimately he's going to be fine, but I think of all the people in camp, like it is an inconvenience for him to not have this time. And I think it actually, a lot of injuries, it's like whatever, camp, they'll be fine. They just got to get back in the flow of it. Like I think it actually does matter a little bit here, but ultimately, like I said, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, no, you do bring up a good point, and we'll see how long this injury lasts, but it wouldn't be super shocking if it took him maybe a game or two to really kind of find his legs and find just get through that game, because even training camp contact is not the same level as game contact, right? And so it's just I wouldn't be surprised to see if that was something to keep an eye on. Another injured guy is Ruiz. I mean, it seems like it's quite a few injuries. I don't want to ask you about them all, but it's like Troutman, Marshawn Ruiz, those guys are all injured. Is just in general, anything serious or to be worried about? Or
I don't have a lot of info on these other guys that are on those. The list is extensive. So I don't really have anything to add on his other than to say that like and see it like anything obvious happened to him. So
Yep. All right. Well, the very next item on my list was to ask you about, Honey Badger, man. It's funny because before the pod, before the news today about his interception, I was going to ask you, hey, I hadn't, heard much about him. How's he playing? So it seems May had an interception against Green Bay. Honey Badger had an interception today. So just the safety duel, what's the update there? That's one of the biggest question marks in the defense. We
talk about Tyron like almost daily about like what he's doing, what he's lining up, the plays he's making. So I don't think he's having a quiet camp by any means. I think he was having a pretty good camp. Obviously he started out in the the spot where he was away from the team, and I think it took a little bit of time to ramp up and everything. But like in Green Bay, like I saw his impact. Like he was lining up all over the field, rushing from the edge. He was playing in the box. He was playing deep. You know, they're switching at the snap. Aaron Rodgers is confused. Like I thought that he had a really good week in Green Bay. Today obviously was his best practice. He had a pass break up on Deontay Hardy on a crossing route going over the middle. So that's not a slow player. Like you got to have significant closing speed to kind of get there and knock the ball down. And then he just kind of undercut in breaking route in the back of the end zone to Juwan Johnson, got an interception. But I think he's playing well. I think he looks good. And then May as well. Like he had a great interception against Green Bay, deep ball, you know, gets on his horse, flies down the field, picks it out of the air. Like a really, really good play there. And I think his range is something that's kind of stood out in this practice as well. And if there is like quietness as far as like, I don't know how many interceptions like they're supposed to have or whatever, but you know, I don't know, man. I feel like they're playing pretty good. I know DA said today that, you know, it's getting better. It's clicking. He's seeing, you know, the stuff he wants to see. There's still a little bit of room to go. You know, I think that's kind of a you know, an obvious thing. And there is going to be a process there. Like the year that Marcus Williams and Malcolm Jenkins first came together, it took like 4 weeks into the season for them to like really.
Yeah, you know, I was going to ask you that, like, if you can compare like how the first training camp was with those two together versus May and Matthew, which is a little unfair because Marcus Williams had been here forever. But yeah, it's just, is there any differences, anything that stands out between that?
It's tough to say because like in camp, they're kind of just calling their coverages, but it's not like super complex. Like it's not game planned. It's not a ton of disguise. It's not, you know, they're just kind of like, you know, running cover 3, cover 2, cover 1, cover 4. Like, so it's just kind of, just kind of like really like basic stuff. And then once you get into the season, there's the window dressing and, you know, the stuff's a little bit more complex with how it goes together. So, you know, when that's going on, I think that's kind of where you start to see the communication and if it's on point or not. But I think throughout this camp, like, you know, I don't know. I think the safeties are playing pretty good, and you know, I'd wager to say, look, I think that they're probably going to give up more plays than they did with Marcus Williams back there because Marcus Williams has unbelievable range. Say whatever you want about him, but he was an eraser. Like these guys don't have the same type of range, but I think they're going to make more plays. So, you know, in the end, I really do believe that like the safeties are going to end up being the identity of the defense. Things are going to flow off them, and I think it's going to be an extremely dynamic group of players. I think they're going to be really good.
Okay, yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And now, you know, I'll confess a little bit. I was probably a little bit of a victim of just, you know, I haven't, you know, not a ton of interceptions, right? But interceptions don't really dictate good safety play, right? And so I think that's like that's the key to it. Like you can, you know,
got CJ in there. They got what, 4? So.
Yeah, there you go. I think, yeah. So yeah, it makes sense.
He's playing really good too. Like he's really come on in training camp.
Yeah. That's important because, you know, I think he may have a day where he had a little bit of a low, but yeah, just all those guys playing together. Alontae Taylor, is he back practicing yet? It seemed like he was back at one point. Then
he's so we didn't see him today because they practiced inside. They were supposed to be outside, so we didn't see him today. But we saw him on Monday. And when they're outside and guys are going through rehab, we see them jogging and going through different stuff, different strength and conditioning work with a member of the training staff. So we saw him on Monday. Pete Werner as well. So I think both those guys, that's usually a pretty strong indication that they're close to getting back on the field. So it seems like things are trending in the right direction for those two.
Yeah, that's good. I think you just want to see the rookie play, and obviously Pete Werner's a starter. So, so another guy coming back is that is back or almost all the way back. We'll see is Marcus Davenport. So, you know, what are you seeing from him? And you know, yeah, just your thoughts about him kind of coming back into the lineup in the long term implications to that.
We just saw him practice today, so I mean, there's not a lot of thoughts there. Like nothing really popped out either way. He's out there, he's moving. You know, it looked okay, but didn't really see any you know, big time plays or anything like that. But it's one practice, like, you know. So right. I'm not reaching any conclusion off that. But it's arguably the most important player on the defensive side of the ball, this side of Marshawn Lattimore, I think. is on the field and he's playing, and he's just got to be on the field and playing. Like if he's on the field and playing, everything takes care of itself. Defense is significantly better. And look, we saw the impact of him being out there last year, just standing on the field, just before even doing anything, just standing on the field. It changes how everybody else gets blocked. So he's a significant difference maker for this team. And I think it's the
He got to be
biggest
on the
thing.
field. They need him.
Biggest
What
thing that-
level?
yeah.
What was his level of participation today? That was kind of what I was like. Is he just so it was full? So he's okay. Yeah, I mean that bodes well. I think the main thing about him is health, right? I think that's the only question about Marcus Davenport. I don't think there's any other one. So as long as he's trending that way, that's good. Kirk Merritt moved to running back. He's practicing with the running back. So what's kind of going on there, and what's how they're using him in practice? Like why do you think they made that move for him? Made him move to that position?
So my gut feeling on it is like I think they want to try to give him an opportunity to find a way to make the team. I thought he had 2 moments to really solidify his case against Green Bay, maybe 3. And he took advantage of the first return. I thought that was a big play for him. I don't know if making the team as a returner is really in the cards for him, but if that's something you can do and you're the backup returner and you're also, good at this or good at that, like it's just another feather in your hat. So, maybe it helps strengthen your case at the very least. Next return fumbles it, returns it pretty well. I think you can kind of forget about that if nothing else goes wrong, but then he has to pass up the sideline. And that was like the make the team moment, stretches out, just barely misses it, then gets another pass, drops that too. So I thought that, look, I'm not like, honestly, like before those 2 passes, like I was sitting there just kind of waiting for him to do one other thing because like I wanted to write a story about like how it was going to be hard to get rid of him and all this stuff. And he was a guy that kind of strengthened his case. And then it just kind of went the opposite way. But I think there's obvious talent there, obvious upside. And I think this is just another opportunity to try to find a way for him to make the roster. Like I think they want him to make the team. And if he can prove himself at running back and he can be a backup running back, he can be your I don't know, 6th receiver, he can be your backup kick returner. Like you get one guy doing a lot of different things and he can help you in a variety of ways. And I think that kind of makes him a very interesting player. But like I think they just got to see something else. So I think that like they badly want to find a way for this guy to make the team. He just has to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I thought it was definitely an interesting move, and just to your point, if he was, just the Deontay Hardy role would have been perfect, right? If you can, someone who can, maybe do some returns on special teams and be a receiver, maybe not a primary receiver, but a guy who can be used in a package. I thought that would have been a good spot for him. So yeah, this move to running back was interesting though. I'm interested to see how it goes. I didn't know. I guess he played running back some in high school and college. So yeah, that's interesting. Just a little bit. I know there's a story on the website, guys. If you guys are not signed up, go to NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. Yeah, and support us. We appreciate it and we need you guys support. But just high level, you got an article on Roach, Malcolm Roach on the website. So just kind of tease that a little bit, and I thought it was an interesting read, right?
Yeah, no, he's kind of had to change his way. He changed the way he thinks about coaching, the way he thinks about playing, and just kind of how he handles adversity on the field. And that was a major thing that kind of submarined him in the past, and he's figured out a way to reprogram that. So, I think that's kind of been the key to success for him in this camp. I think that I don't know how it's gonna go for him, but I kind of look at him and almost, I feel like he's pushing up on Shy Tuttle pretty close, so I think he's
I agree with that, but yeah,
I think he's having that kind of camp. It's going to be interesting. I think Shy's probably still ahead of him at this point, but if Roach keeps playing well, like I wouldn't be surprised at some point if there's a switch. Anything can happen with the roster cuts. I would be really surprised if he's not on the team. Like I think he's having that kind of camp. He's just playing really, really good football. And coming into it, I don't know that I would have had him like, he was somebody that I thought kind of had to save themselves a little bit. I think he's done that. Like he's been one of the more consistent players throughout this camp. And I think he's just taking his game to the next level.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I know it seems like, listen, the way I see it is they brought in, a couple of players to challenge that spot, right? That DT2 spot. They signed the rookie, and he's a late round pick, but they spent draft capital on him, and they signed Street. So it seems like he steps up to the role. He stepped up to the role, and he's kind of starting to play better this camp, which is important because if you're looking for weaknesses on the linebacker on the defense, if before the training camp started, we probably would have said DT2, right? If someone forced you to pick a spot, and so just to have someone stepping up there, you guys go check out what Nick wrote on the site. It's a good read. I enjoyed it, and it's a good read. So Peyton Turner, there's some talk around Peyton Turner. There's quite a bit lately, and he didn't really make a splash or anything in the Packers game, but just for context, like, what do you think of like how he's been practicing and his play in the preseason games thus far?
I think he's been practicing pretty good. That there's been good moments, things that he could do better. Of course, I think there's still a learning curve there. He's only played 5 NFL games, so I think that there's just some stuff that he's still getting used to and still learning. And look, he came into the league branded as a raw player, so like it's going to take time. He needs experience. He needs time on task to kind of figure everything out.
Yeah,
So like, let's look at this game, like, in particular, 13 pass rushing snaps. So that's not a major exposure right off the top. Obviously, like going against who he's going against, you want to see him winning some of those, right? Like,
right.
I understand that. I agree with that. I think that's probably been one of the more, I think that was one of the things that I've wanted to see the most in these games and haven't seen is kind of him just kind of having some moments. Like his first round pick, he's a huge part of their future. He's somebody that, I think they need to hit. Like, so it's important. But 13 pass rushing snaps, 2 of them are screens. So let's take it down to 11. Like he's not going to get a pressure on those 11. And 4, maybe 5 of the other snaps, he catches a double team or some type of, chip and block or, some other additional contact. So those are tough plays to make. So where are we at now?
Yeah.
We're down to 6. I mean, I mean, you'd like to see him win some of those 6. He's again, first round pick, highly drafted guy, someone that you want to see that stuff from. But I think that there just needs to be like, I'm going to wait to see more to kind of, I think he needs a whole season. You know what I mean? Like he played 5 games. Like that's not a lot of football. So, and he was coming off an injury. One of those, the first game was really good. The other games weren't, they were quiet. So I want to see more from him. I think he's practiced well. There's things that I see that he could be doing better. I think everybody sees some of that stuff in these games, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I want to see him. And again, you want to see you want your first round pick to have the impact of Marcus Davenport when he's on the field.
Right.
It's going to take some time to get there. I want to see him rush opposite Davenport and, kind of get into some of these favorable matchups out there with Onyemata, out there with Cam, just kind of see how some of these things set up, get him into these situations. Like it took Davenport a lot of time to get to where he's at. He kind of entered the league under similar circumstances. I think Turner had a little more polish to him than Davenport coming into the league. Maybe Davenport picked up some of that stuff. It's 5 games though, and he had 4.5 sacks his first year. Davenport did, so there's a little more production. But I think it's one of those things that's going to take some time. Cam didn't do anything as a rookie. It's just takes. You got to give him a little bit of time. And that's not saying he's going to get there. It's not saying he's not going to get there. I just need a little bit more information to evaluate. A little more time to see what he can do. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I would have liked to see a little bit more, but when you kind of put it in context, like it starts to make a little bit more sense. Maybe why, it wasn't what you thought it should be or what it could be or anything like that. But I would definitely, this last preseason game going into it, I would like to see him make some of these plays that we've seen him make in practice. Just, get your hands on the quarterback, affect the throw, do something. That's the one thing that I really want to see going, into this Chargers game this week.
Yeah. I'm the same way. When like this last game, when I went back and looked at his snaps, it felt like he never really had the opportunity to really get after it, or even get into any rhythm. I want to see more from him too. Also, that's why I went back.
I mean, that doesn't. You got to do more than get close. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I want to see more out of him. Also, he was like one of the main players I was looking for going into this camp. So I definitely don't, you expect more out of your first round pick, just being
I think
honest. But
Peyton Turner would, I think Peyton Turner would like to be
say the same
sitting.
thing.
Yeah, I think he'd like to be sitting in his room, with 2 sacks and a handful of pressures. Like I think he
Right.
probably feels the same exact way. There has to be a standard. He's a first round pick. There has to be a standard for him. I
Yep.
think it's fair to say that in these games that, you want to see something. It's just, it's just hasn't come
Exactly.
yet. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that actually means anything at this point, but
Yeah.
you do want to see it.
Yep. I'm the same thing, and I don't know. I don't have enough information to make any statement other than I want to see more, right? And we'll see, right? We'll find out. That's the good thing. He'll be on the team and he'll get to rush in NFL games, and we'll be able to form an opinion when we get a little bit more information. So another big storyline that came out of the preseason game was, let's start with Will Lux, man. Like, like that was a long field goal, right? And just having him back is like such a big deal. You probably win another game or two just with him, and we get into the punter also. So yeah, and Gilligan talk also, man. Just talk about those two guys and just kind of what it means for a team built the way that this team is built with a great defense to be able to, have such a good punter and kicker, and just Lutz being back and how important that is to the team.
Yeah, I mean, if you can punt, you can kick, and you can play defense, you're going to win some games just off of those
Just
attributes.
they did that last year, right? Without the
Yeah,
punter. So
yeah,
I mean the kicker,
kicker,
not
yeah.
the punter.
But yeah, so you do all those things, you're going to end up in good situations, and it's going to make things easier on your offense. The we've been talking about how Lutz has like made virtually every kick in training
Yeah.
camp. He's missed 2 now overall. So I mean, he's been really, really good in training camp. The thing about that kick that I liked the most was that, just seeing DA handle a situation as a head coach, and I don't know that there was any reason to doubt him, or that there is any reason to doubt his ability to handle those things. But just to see him have the awareness to call that timeout, make sure that your kickers kick him with the wind instead of against it. Wasn't like huge gust in there, but you're going 59 yards. Like every little bit matters. That you up that degree of difficulty, even just a little bit kicking into the wind, maybe that doesn't go through. So the fact that he managed that situation and made the right
Yeah.
call, put his kicker in a good position. I thought that was just as good as seeing Lutz hit that 59 yarder. But yeah,
Yeah.
seeing him do it in the game, hugely important, instills confidence, changes the way you call games. It's having a kicker that you believe in, even if he
Yeah.
doesn't make all the kicks, just believing that he's going to make them. I think
Yeah.
it greatly impacts the way that you go about your business. And if you can trust in your kicker and you call the games that way, those situations are going to work out in your favor more often than not. So yeah, I think hugely significant.
Yeah, big
Great to
time.
see him back in action.
Yep. And Gilligan, man. I mean,
Yeah.
80 just ridiculous punt, right? And so yeah, just being able to have both of those guys is going to be a big deal. Who would you say is Gilligan a better punter than Lutz is a kicker? Not yet. Too early. Too soon.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you got to see the consistency over time. I think that's the thing that makes those guys great is the consistency over time. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think I think they're both extremely talented players among, Lutz is already, I think, among the best. And Gilligan, I think, definitely has the ability to end up there. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to rank them, but I think they're both really, really good at what they do. And I think just, Gilligan's a weapon. He keeps the field. Going
He's a
for more
weapon,
set to
man.
him is really like the best.
Gold. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gold. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's hugely important. And I think one of the good things about Saints fans is they actually understand the value of special teams,
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's cool that they get to watch people that are actually good at that craft, and they appreciate them when they're gone. So
Franchise with Steve Gleason as part of
yeah,
it. That's definitely some special team love going around. So yeah, it's a big part of the game. I think they got to get the returner situation figured back out. But as far as like the specialists, the kicker and the punter, even the long snapper, right? You just feel good about the whole operation.
I think Hardy will be good. I think he'll be fine returning.
Okay, all right. So
I mean, he's a good returner, and look, he's even talked about like kind of how he's changed his mentality. Like last year was kind of more on establishing himself as a receiver, and he's getting back to kind of
yeah,
this is my thing. I'm gonna go for it. I'm
an
gonna
all pro here, right?
Yeah, right.
yeah. That definitely makes sense. Like if he's going to be a known player in NFL, it's probably going to be because of his special team abilities. If I had to guess,
both, but yeah, I mean that needs to be it's it's something that he needs to keep at the forefront.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Your favorite player on the Saints, Sewell. You've been talking about him kind of, before everybody else. I give you that. You told us early that he was starting to look good, and he's been getting some snaps with some of the guys who's going to be playing on Sunday. So, what have you seen from him, and what do you think? He on the squad? How close is he? Is he to being on the squad? Is he a fringe player? And it's a good position for him to be showing out at too, given the injuries they've had there. So, yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, Nephi, I think he's played really good. I think he has good range, good instincts in the run game. That's maybe the aspect that people overlook quite a bit is they see someone with range and oh, he's like getting here. I see him, like he stands out. But like in the run game, like some of the stuff you're not seeing, that's really important. And I think he's making good decisions there. I think his range looks good. I don't know if he's on the team or not. I think he's positioning himself really well to make that decision hard for him, maybe sneak his way on. If they keep an additional player beyond the top three, Caden Ellis, DeMario, Pete Werner, Eric Wilson being number 4. If you keep, I think Bostic maybe has a good chance of making the team. Depending on what the numbers are, he would be my guy ahead of Chase Hansen. I think that's a decision that's kind of that's how I would do it. I mean, I just think that he's played better every game, Houston game included. I think he had a better game there. So I just think I think that he has good upside, good instincts, good range, does a lot of things that they should like. So depending on what the numbers are there, I think he's definitely someone that's put himself in good position to stick around in one capacity or another, whether it's 53 or practice squad. I wouldn't let him leave. So you look, I think part of it too is this last game. If he has a really good game, part of it's always like, hey, if we let this guy go, can we keep him? And depending on what that is, the Saints might have a harder decision to make. But I think he's definitely somebody that deserves consideration there. But I'll say this as well, like I don't think that anyone beyond Eric Wilson has done enough to where you aren't looking at other people who get cut. So I think that they need to continue to explore their options, see where they're at. But I think that he's definitely put himself in that conversation.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just my take on it, the way I looked at it is like, hey, say if they keep, I don't know, say they keep 5, I would say, obviously Pete Werner, DeMario Davis, Eric Wilson. I put Caden Ellis in there just because,
you gotta listen to like DA's talking about how he's developing into like being an off-ball linebacker as well as on-ball linebacker. So I mean, they really like the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah. And so I put him in there as the 4th one. And so when I think of the 5th, I think of it being Sewell. At this point, I don't know if I took away his draft position, then I wouldn't even be putting him.
Yeah, I don't think that should be part of the conversation at this point.
Yeah, I don't have anything, and I've not seen anything thus far in this preseason that says Zach Bond is one of the 5 best linebackers on this team. And so my 5th, I think it's between Hansen, Bond, Bostic, and Sewell. And just, the way I think about it is Bostic is a veteran who, he's been here. He knows a little bit of defense in case you need to bring him back. Sewell was not on the team not too long ago. So, Hansen was. And so Sewell may be the guy who you feel like there's some upside there. Then, you may want to keep him around given, you don't do the same thing with Bond. So, it's just interesting that Bond may not be on the team, right? Just
I don't know what they see his special teams value as. So maybe that's a part of it that I'm not evaluating correctly or placing proper weight on. But if I'm making a 53, like he's just, I'm sorry, but he's not on it.
Yeah, is he like playing more Mike than Will, or how are they using him at this point?
Yeah, they're using him still off the ball. They're playing on the weak side. I mean, that's kind of where they see him at. But I just don't. It's just I haven't seen enough in this camp to change the narrative. And look, I mean, like he's not playing ahead of these guys, so I mean that's just kind of where it's at this point.
Yeah. Man, that's a tough deal, man. I spent the high draft pick on him, and it just seems like he switched positions, and I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, how about the I don't want to say bottom of the depth chart, but that's kind of what it is for the wide receivers: the Callaway, Traquan Smith, Deontay Hardy, I think those group of guys are just interesting. I guess Kirk Merritt was part of that, and Dixon. There's some other guys, but Merritt's running back now. So yeah, how do you see those guys? How do you see that battle between those guys going? And then if there any risk of any one of them not making a roster, in your opinion?
I think they'll keep the 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think the 6 are going to be on there. Hardy, Smith, and Callaway being 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think that's just going to kind of be how it goes. I don't think if they want to risk losing any of them, I think they all have some type of value. Mike being hurt kind of just reminds you of that.
Fragile.
So,
It's fragile, man. Yeah.
I don't know if I call him fragile, but
No, not Mike. I'm saying just like a position can be fragile. 1 minute you can
sure.
be healthy, and
Yeah.
the next minute, like offensive line, right? You can just start dropping guys. So yeah, keeping depth.
It'll be interesting. Like I don't know if Merritt does enough to, like I said, to kind of make you view him as wide receiver 6, running back 4, kick returner 2. If he does, maybe that changes things up, and you save a roster spot somewhere through that. But right, if you're asking me today to fill it out, like I'm keeping the 6 on my 53.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, we just saw what happens when you don't have enough good wide receivers. So keeping those guys definitely makes sense. Last one for me, I kind of view this as, I know they break training camp and all this stuff, but I kind of view this moment now as the middle of the offseason or training camp, right? Like they have 3 games, they played 2, they got 1 more game, they got the extra week. So just overall, like, how do you see like DA and the job he's doing, and then where do you think the team is, right? Because one thing I tweeted out during the game, and DA came to coach, like he was calling timeouts, challenging stuff. He was out there doing his thing. So just what do you think of what you've seen from him thus far, and the team, and how they responded to him as a head coach? Because it's just kind of the middle, and it's good to kind of take note of it.
I love how every podcast you say last one for me, like someone else is gonna like just pop up and asking questions.
I was wondering why you was laughing at me while I was talking. I was like, I haven't said nothing funny, but it's all right. Leave me alone, man. Hey, listen, don't make me talk about my athletic feats, right? So it's got to be something. So
if you would have played in that flag football game, like I think there might have been a chance that they would have just been like, "Hey, Cav, like come over, like you stick around for the Saints practice. Let's see what you can do." So if you would have shown them that 4.4 speed and that box jump and all that stuff, like it might have happened for you. So maybe next year we should get you in there, because then you can cover the slot like you say you can, and we'll see how you keep up with Hardy as he's setting up on a slant. So
he got tight hips. He can't handle that.
Yeah, I think they're responding to him well. I think that the team's kind of taken on his identity and everything like that, and they've responded to him well for years. And they've responded well to Pete Carmichael for years. So I don't think that there's really anything drastically different. I think some of the things that he's doing is smart. The approach with some of the veteran players. I think that he's kind of showing that he trusts them to handle their business and everything. And I think that's probably a welcome change after the just in the regime change and everything like that. So putting his own stamp on it kind of is important. I think that's a good thing for him. So yeah, I think they're responding well. I think team looks good, all that stuff. I think everything's on the right track.
Yeah, good, man. I thought about it because I was thinking it must have been like after the game, and DA was talking, and someone asked him a question. He just gave like a super coachy answer, and it just made me think like, wow, the guy who was here for 16 years is no longer coaching, and it's not really that big of a story, right? It's like there's not a big story about Sean Payton is gone. Like I think it's just interesting. I think it speaks a lot to like and you guys you cover the team well. If it looked bad and there was problems, then we would be talking about it. So yeah, I just think it's significant that it's just something that's flown under the radar that's not being talked about. So it just bodes well for how that transition is going for him. So yeah.
That was the last one for you?
Yeah, that was the last one for me.
DJ, you got any questions since Kevin's on? You good? Everybody good? We're all good. We're all good, man.
All right. Hey, man, look.
No one else is popping up to ask a question here.
Hey, man, look, you got – listen, man, Nick is in the studio. You guys see the soft lavender background. DJ's back there somewhere cracking jokes and throwing stuff at us in chat. But yeah, man, we appreciate all you guys' support. Yeah, we're doing a lot here. We're not finished. We're just getting started. So thank you guys for your support. Support us at NewOrleans.Football if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a subscriber already. So thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week. We out.
Hey, 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 hey. Nick and Kel, I got you. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
As you can tell, last year it was an off year, but we reloaded and now it is our boss year. Seated back there and yeah, we got the badger. Don't forget my shun and don't forget the pass rush. Jameis QB1 dropping down to MT. Ball handed off the Alvin with the quick feet. So when you see the Saints marching, yeah, we gon' trouble you. At the Super Bowl party eating on them double. We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.
We in the dome right now, we in the zone right now. Put your hands in the air, cause it's on right now. Yeah, we back up in this thing and we coming for the crown. Nick and Kev on the mic.
It's about to go down.